UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing potential rebellion with his own Labour Party just 2 months into his term. The issue? Controversial cuts to winter fuel payments for pensioners, which will be voted on in Parliament next week. During Prime Minister's questions yesterday, Starmer defended the decision, arguing that scaling back these payments is necessary to fix the economic black hole left by the previous Conservative government. But his stance has sparked criticism from across the political spectrum. Former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak accused Keir Starmer of neglecting pensioners in favour of inflation-busting pay rises for public sector workers like train drivers. Tory MPs were quick to back him up with shouts of shame from the opposition benches.
It was his decision, and his decision alone, to award a train driver on £65,000 a pay rise of almost £10,000. And it was also his decision that a pensioner living on just £13,000 will have their winter fuel allowance removed. So can the Prime Minister explain to Britain's low-income pensioners why he has taken money away from them whilst at the same time given more money to highly paid train drivers?
But it's not just Conservative MPs pushing back. A growing number of Labour MPs are opposing the cuts. 10 have already signed a motion led by MP Neil Duncan-Jordan, calling on Starmer to reconsider. The rebels include newcomers Jessica Asato and Melanie On. More Labour MPs could follow, with several still undecided. The decision has sparked outrage amongst pensioners, with questions being asked of whether respect for Britain's elder generation has all but vanished.
Yes, it's not something we would have expected from the Party of Social Justice, I don't think. They talk about rich pensioners, and there probably are some, but like everything else, it's probably a bell curve with very rich at one end, very poor at the other end, and the mass in the middle, just about managing.
Do you feel pensioners in this country are being prioritised over train drivers, for example?
I think the government have said they have difficult decisions to make, and I'm sure they have. I think we might seem like an easy target to them because we haven't got the power of train drivers or, other groups of workers who can withdraw their labour if they're not happy about something. But we do have influence, and we have influence. A lot of our members are also union members, and I'm sure the unions are thinking about all of this as well. And I think Unite Union has come out and said that they're very unhappy with what the government seems to be doing at the moment.
Angela, you said that they're potentially picky on pensioners because you haven't got, the power or the sway of unionised train drivers. Isn't that the hallmark of a bully, picking on people who are powerless to respond?
I don't know. Yes, it could be construed that way. Certainly Mr. Starmer seems bullish at the moment in the way he's approaching things. He said he's changed the Labour Party. And if these decisions are an example of the change to the Labour Party, then it doesn't seem like changes for the better to poorer people.
Do you feel like pensioners and the older generation are respected anymore in this country, Angela?
Anymore? Have they ever been? For quite some time now. We've got one of the lowest state pensions in Europe. The government seem to think of it as some kind of a benefit that we haven't worked for or paid into. Whereas, personally, I had a career of 42 years and I paid national insurance every month of those 42 years. And so I feel that we have paid into it. Now, governments years ago decided to use a kind of a Ponzi scheme where they used today's income to pay out today's benefit. And it's not working anymore, clearly, because there aren't enough workers to contribute to that particular scheme. So definitely, I think something needs to change.
Keir Starmer said in Parliament today that the state pension would be getting a £1,000 boost over the next 5 years. Does that not sort of neg out the winter fuel allowance being taken away?
Not really. That just kind of keeps pensioners standing still. £1,000 over 5 years isn't really very much, is it? I mean, the state pension now is only 11,500 a year. That would only make it 12,500 in 5 years' time. The median wage in the country is nearly 35,000. If you're on less than 60% of that, then you're considered to be in poverty. So that doesn't get us anywhere near the 21,000, which is 60% of the current median wage. It doesn't even get us near to the living or minimum wage. So I think, pensioners have had a rough deal for quite a long time. And although the government seem to think these numbers are really big, when you're struggling with council tax going up, inflation as it is, fuel bills going up, you're only just standing still by getting those increases, nothing more.
Got it. The upcoming vote will be whipped, meaning that MPs will be expected to toe the party line. But Labour insiders say discipline may be more lenient this time compared to the recent rebellion over the two-child benefit cap. Last time, Starmer suspended 7 Labour MPs for 6 months for defying the party on that issue.
Keir Starmer has unleashed a civil war within the Labour Party. Last night, there was a vote on the two-child benefit cap and some of his own MPs spoke out against Labour's position.
If the Labour Party has a moral mission, it must be to eradicate poverty. The key driver of rising child poverty is the two-child benefit cap. And the single most effective way of tackling child poverty is immediately lifting 300,000 children out of poverty by scrapping this cruel policy. It is a move backed by everyone from Gordon Brown, all 11 trade unions affiliated to the Labour Party, as well as the TUC, which represents 6 million workers, as well as the Archbishop of Canterbury and Save the Children.
Well, several Labour MPs voted against Starmer's position, and then today he basically sacked them all. There they are. We've got Afsana Begum, Imran Hussain, Rebecca Long-Bailey, Ian Byrne, Richard Bergen, Zara Sultana and John McDonnell. But they're not taking it lying down. Sultana teed off again today.
So your view of Keir Starmer today, having also kicked you out of the party, is what?
Well, I'm not interested in playing up to this macho virility test that seems to be what people are talking about. It's about the material conditions of 330,000 children living in poverty.
Sorry, what?
And Afsana Begum made some astonishing allegations that the party whips were making trade-offs on the issue with her of domestic violence.
And that was shocking and I think
what
unacceptable.
You're suggesting here. So they offered you what support in bills that you may have around that particular issue if you voted with them?
Yes.
OK, so then she went even further.
With my ex-husband was raised in the context of the conversation that shook me as well in terms of the whipping operation. I'm a survivor of domestic abuse and coercive control. I've just had to run in an election in which my ex-husband was standing against me and feeling like my experiences were being weaponized against me in this situation during the whipping operation was absolutely shocking. And the fact that supporting me regarding my ex-husband was discussed in this context is completely unacceptable.
Miss Begum's ex-husband denies any wrongdoing. But now, Magic Grandpa Jeremy Corbyn has penned this letter. He's urging all the rebels to come together. They now go and join the Fruity Five independents. Magic Grandpa himself, Jeremy Corbyn, in that kind of quite nutty wing of the House of Commons. But Number 10 has hit back. He said, "We've been very clear on our position on the child limit and why we did not commit to removing it both during the campaign and since. And that is because, given the economic situation we've inherited, we are very clear that we're not going to make promises that we can't keep." Now, clearly voting against the party's position on the King's speech is a serious matter. So the problem for Starmer is now he's set a precedent. He'll basically sack you if you vote against him. This means other political parties can set him up with more votes going forward. Is this just a sign of the chaos to come under Labour?
A sign of things to come, maybe. But this vote isn't directly tied to the King's speech, giving potential rebels more room to manoeuvre. Starmer defended his decision in Parliament, acknowledging that it was difficult but necessary to stabilise the economy and set up long-term growth.
No Prime Minister wants to do what we have to do in relation to the winter fuel allowance, but we have to take the tough decision to stabilise our economy to ensure that we can grow it for the future. And as I've said, we are working hard on pension credit. We're allowing housing benefits, which they didn't do for years, and over 5 years, this projected increase of up to £1,000 for those on pensions. We are tough decisions that they done.
With a looming vote and a seemingly growing divide in the Labour Party, all eyes will be on next week's showdown in Parliament. Will Starmer hold the line, or will the rebellion gain traction? We will bring you updates as the story develops.